For the longest time, Jake Paul and Nate Diaz have been at each other, competing against one another. And now it looks like it might actually be happening. While many people are anticipating this fight, it seems like it's been dragged out for too long, and people are looking at other potential opponents that Paul might be against in his future matches. To know more, keep watching. First up, Chael Sonnen's comparison of Jake Paul. American submission grappling promoter and retired mixed martial artist compared the YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul to Jon Jones recently, while he discussed his potential fight with Nate Diaz. While everyone is anticipating a fight-off between the two, Sonnen pointed out during his YouTube show called Beyond the Fight that it would be difficult to get Diaz to sign a contract. Discussing in detail, he explained that if you're going to try to convince the free agent MMA fighter to fight against you, then you're going to have to sell the idea of the business to him. Considering Diaz is no longer under his UFC contract, it does make sense for him to look for opportunities that will help him promote himself, and that's what Chael went on to discuss, as he said that Paul and Diaz don't have any personal beef, so it's all just about publicity and money. He also pointed out that the low pay-per-view sales of Paul vs. Silva could make Diaz reconsider fighting the 25-year-old. His business model has always been the anticipation of his downfall. He then went on to compare this tactic to what Jon Jones used to do, and stated that it was a Jon Jones-esque way of things. Coming up, Sonnen discusses who would win. The YouTuber went on to discuss that Paul could potentially win against Diaz. The reason? According to Sonnen, it's the age and size difference that could throw off the 37-year-old fighter. After Paul's surprising yet incredible winning streak, many people have started to see a potential in the young fighter. While he does talk a big game and has a long way to go, his recent victory against Silva is a testament that he is one to look out for. Up next, Paul and Diaz's feud. While things remain uncertain, that doesn't stop Paul and Diaz from feuding. While Jake is known to be haughty and calls out contestants to instigate them into fighting him, this time it seems to be working for him, as Diaz is responding too. Only moments before his match against Anderson Silva, there was some commotion backstage, caused by Diaz and the Problem Child's crew. According to reports, the two players' crews were involved in a 20-man backstage brawl backstage. Allegedly, Jake was unaware of the brawl and was too busy preparing for his match. In a leaked video, Diaz, Nick Maximov, and Julia Avila were front and center, yelling at Jake's bodyguard. After some back and forth, Diaz was seen slapping Paul's meditation coach, while Maximov was seen throwing a bottle of beer at Paul's bodyguard. Nate was also seen hitting one of Jake's team members with a water bottle, and then telling his team to leave, announcing that they had won. Pictures also emerged from the incident, in which Diaz was seen slapping a member of Jake's team. Before things could get worse, security was called, and Nate and his team were escorted out of the premises. Following up, Jake's reaction. As we mentioned earlier, the younger Paul brother allegedly had no idea about any of this, and when he found out, he was furious. Talking to the media about the incident, he called Diaz an effing problem who causes problems everywhere he goes. He went on to say that Nate had been involved in 3 fights at a club in Scottsdale in just 1 week because he wanted to fight everyone. He concluded by saying Silva's better than Diaz. Moving forward, Jake announces that he wants to fight Diaz. After the ex-Disney star won his match against Silva, he talked about his future prospects at a press conference, and it seemed like he was more motivated than ever to go up against Diaz now. He said that this was just the start and that he wants to fight Nate next. He also said that he wants to fight Mexican professional fighter Canelo Alvarez. The younger Paul brother revealed that he wants to fight Canelo because everyone said that he can't beat a striker, but now that he's won against Silva, he thinks he can easily go against Canelo. Referring to Silva, he said that he just fought the greatest MMA fighters of all time, so he isn't too worried about fighting Diaz. Paul explained that Silva is a tougher opponent than Nate, and if he could defeat him, then Diaz was a piece of cake. Commenting on Diaz's fighting style, Paul called him a street fighter and stated that boxing was obviously a superior sport to that. He commented that Silva only knows jiu-jitsu, and comparing him to Anderson, he stated that Silva hits harder and is more slippery. And it seems like odds makers seem to agree with Jake, implying a 72.2% win probability. Now let's talk about what it is that made Paul so popular. Jake has made it clear with all the matches he's won that he is a force to be reckoned with in the MMA world. But it's no secret that he does have his fair share of haters, who are now slowly recognizing his talent. For starters, his boxing record is top-notch. Winning all 6 matches that he's fought, with 4 knockouts, is no joke. But apart from that, he happens to have a serious mass appeal. While he may seem obnoxious to some and a bit too much for many, he does have an appeal that makes him have some major fans. Even in his YouTube days, he was always commended for knowing his demographic so well, to the point that some people even called him out for exploiting them. And his personality does have many fans, but haters alike. But somehow, that works for him too, because just like Diaz, he's been able to instigate fighters into competing against him and has proven himself each time. With some impressive boxing abilities, even his sternest critics have admitted that there really is something about Jake that makes him a boxer. Another interesting aspect that makes him so popular is his animosity with the UFC boss Dana White. People aren't the biggest fans of White, and Paul's consistent jabs at him seem to be something that even his haters seem to enjoy. And well, you have to give it to him. He does find the most unique ways to diss White every time. One of his most famous ones is his diss track on him, which is also available on his YouTube channel. That being said, who are the potential next 3 opponents Paul could fight? People are clearly invested in Paul's every move, and here we have 3 potential opponents for his next match. Many assume that KSI could be Jake's next opponent, since after their 2018 fight, which was left undisputed, the two seemed up for a rematch, but that never happened. Fans still anticipate the rematch, since their first one caused such a commotion, and a match in the United Kingdom could help Jake expand his brand further. And considering his business tricks, Paul is not one to pass up an opportunity like this. Another option for Paul is Irish MMA fighter Conor McGregor. While it has almost been a year since Paul called out McGregor for a fight publicly, the fight seems unlikely because Dana White could be a potential holdup for this to happen. And of course, the Stockton bad boy Nate Diaz is on top of our list. With many reasons presented earlier, it seems like this fight might be the one fans are anticipating the most. It also happens to have the most money-making potential, and for Diaz to not take advantage of this opportunity seems unlikely. Wrapping it up with Floyd Mayweather's remarks on Paul. As we stated earlier, not everyone is the biggest fan of the younger Paul brother, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. seems to be one of them. Jake has made it obvious that he wants to fight Floyd from time to time, but it looks like that won't be happening anytime soon. According to him, in fact, Paul is still yet to face a proper boxer who will put the young boxer in his place. According to Mayweather, the opponents Paul has gone against were nothing, and he needs to fight and win against some real boxers to prove himself. He did admit that Paul was doing well, but not as well as he was going around saying he was. Paul even traveled all the way to Dubai to watch Mayweather fight against Deji, and even tried to tempt Tommy Fury into fighting him next. Guess it's obvious. Jake Paul is desperate for his next fight, and he doesn't care if it has to be Nate Diaz or anyone else. Paul will fight anyone at this point. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think of Chael Sonnen's comments about Nate Diaz? What do you think about Jake Paul's potential next opponent? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.